Patagonia is one of the most incredible regions of the world one could hope to spend time in. Rife with natural beauty, wildlife, and many tourism opportunities, this region spans between two countries and many national parks. There's much to do and much to be excited about. These are some of the very same thoughts that overcame Douglas Tompkins, founder of the North Face clothing brand, and his wife Chris. These two found themselves in awe of the landscape of Patagonia and felt a personal desire to establish a national park in concert with the Chilean government to ensure its protection and safekeeping.
The history of Patagonia. Patagonia National Park was founded by the Tompkins Foundation on December 11th in 2018. The area was first established in 1908 by English explorer Lucas Bridges. It was then distributed to local families due to Chile's 1964 agrarian reforms. The land was taken over by military dictatorship under Augusto Pinochet and was sold in 1980 to Belgian landowner Francois de Smet. In 2004, the Patagonia Conservation, created by the Tompkins family, acquired the 173,000-acre Chambuco Valley estate. With the help of donors, they eventually ended up with a total of 198,000 acres. The following years after, several large-scale ecological restoration and rewilding projects took place in hope of turning the area into a national park. In 2018, Tompkins Conservation donated the land to the Chilean state, which led to the creation of four other national parks and the expansion of three more. Since 2018, it has been maintained and upkept as a national park and will do so for the near future.
The land of the park is made up of the former Tamango and Janemani reserves, as well as the Chacabuco Valley, which used to be one of the largest livestock farming ranches in the country. Tompkins Conservation acquired the land and donated it to the state. Before the explorers made their mark, the land was inhabited by indigenous groups such as the Yamanas and Onas in the Tierra del Fuego, and the Mapuches and Tehuelches on the mainland. The centuries that followed saw waves of immigrants from northern and central Europe blending with the native population to create a mixed culture. The modern day indigenous communities are spread sparsely across the land, living on reserves or working in estancias. They are large rural estates that have significant cultural and historical meaning. Some estancias have been made into tourist destinations to showcase the cultural heritage of these establishments. The modern relevance is these areas are involved in sustainable land management, particularly the overgrazing of sheep. With 35,000 of the Mapuches, they constitute the most populous group in the area. It was only a matter of time before Patagonia was discovered by new groups of people outside of the indigenous inhabitants. Some of these people are called Baqueños, which are Chilean cowboys. They were initially based close to Punta Arenas, and later in the 1870s they began exploring the region more extensively. They would sell animal skins and feathers to the colonial market.
Threats to the park include oil exploration and transportation. Oil wells are often found near coasts where the spills can occur and can be difficult to clean up. Overfishing leads to a decrease in biodiversity of lakes and rivers and threatens the health of Patagonia's watershed. Overgrazing by sheep causes strain on the grasslands and risks the health of the park's soil. This overgrazing risks causing long-term ecological and economic damage to Patagonia.
Next, talking about the focal threat. Unfortunately, overgrazing is still one of the great direct threats facing this national park. Although removing the sheep was productive in working towards repairing the effects of their overgrazing, in short order, the more local guanaco, a close relative of the llama, would take over as the overgrazers of the region. While the guanaco are a celebrated part of Chile's culture and the land, it is good that they have a stable population. This all begs the question of what has been done in 10 years of management to protect the park's grasslands, despite being a foundational reason for the park's establishment. The indirect threat presented by this threat is the reduction in jobs, both short and long term, in Patagonia, not only allowing the land to be damaged by the direct threat, but also creating an unsustainable pattern of growth in the surrounding economy, posing it as an indirect threat. An underlying cause of overgrazing may be the cultural or local prioritization on exporting material goods like wool and meat rather than protecting natural resources.
significant reasons why the park was singled out for restoration and preservation was concerns for overgrazing of the region. One way the Tompkins Foundation actually did assist in this issue is by purchasing the land in 2004 and selling huge portions of the sheep from the prior owners to safely and responsibly remove them from the land. This immediate action caused a reduction in overgrazing, even though it did not provide a long-term solution.
How the park impacted locals. The truth of how the park came to be and how it impacted locals is convoluted, and villainizing the local communities became a popular idea in favor of new leadership in the region to preserve the land and defend it from the overgrazing and mismanagement described by the Tompkins. Douglas Tompkins' efforts were felt far and wide, being not only a titan of industry, but also a voice in the ear of environmentalists all over the world. In a short time frame, the founder of Patagonia Clothing Incorporated, Yvon Chouinard, was on board with the Douglases' plan, and he too spouted on a national stage about the dire conditions of the Chacabuco Valley and its surrounding features, which would go on to become Patagonia National Park. With promises of new and responsible management sharing the new park with the world, the locals of the park were left with the option to get on board or be left behind without a voice. While the local people were not outright displaced by the creation of the park, some people did have to move within the area, and in many ways had no voice about becoming a participant in the creation and management of the park. In the span of 19 years, Douglas and Chris Tompkins first visited the Chacabuco Valley, acquired the land, and donated it to the Chilean government for the creation of the park. In that same time, the perception of the local people went from ignorant, sheep herding environment killers to the old timey, sentimental mascots of the land that they are now. As the goals of the park changed, so too did the perception of locals, as was convenient to establish the park. Now the park utilizes the same locals as employees and volunteers, all while providing a bit of antique flair as the supposed original caretakers of the land, despite not being considered fit stewards to continue taking care of the land without additional management.